All right, I've got on my little neck light right now, but just another little early morning crochet vlog. Start out my day by doing something relaxing. I'm going to be trying to make progress on the backlog of turtles for the church for their mission trip. So yeah, that's my goal. I've got the week off, so I'm trying to make my way through as much of my backlog, aka my projects that I have promised to other people, or projects that I'm aware of for other people that they may not be. Like one of the people I work with, he works in a different team, but every quarter, I have meetings with him, exchange emails, yada yada. But his wife is expecting their third son, I believe it is. So he doesn't know it, but I'm working on making them a baby blanket. So I'm hoping maybe I'll finish that this week. I got to do a quick count on my turtles, which I'll do in a little bit. See how many of those I need to finish up. And then I want to try and make progress on my son's weighted beaded blanket. I only have about 20 rows left on that. There we go. It's got however many I need for this. I know there's a lot of shadows right now, but I didn't want to plug in the light that's on this, and so I'm okay with using this one. Let me angle it a little bit, warm up the color. Guess that'll have to do. All right. So this is where I've made basically a fake. Let me move this a little bit. This is what I call the faux magic ring. Let's see if that works. I don't know, maybe. But I like to do this. It works really well with this yarn because, man, I just really do not like working with this yarn, especially when it comes to magic rings. Outside of magic rings, it's fine, but it pulls apart so easily. But anyway, so I started this with a chain 1. Well, actually, I chained 2, right? And then I worked back in that first chain. And so now what I'm doing is I'm taking that tail and I'm running it through the back posts. Yeah. Running it through the back posts of the single crochets that I worked in that chain space. So that way I can tighten it like a magic ring and I don't have to worry about it breaking or snagging. Pull that tight and then I just work back the other direction to make sure I secure this ring. One of the things I just finished this morning was the second one of a pair of slippers, cotton yarn slippers that I was making as part of the cardigan, the black cotton cardigan, because that was one of the things that I was asked to make, was a pair of matching socks or slippers, if you will. That's one round. I got 2 more to go. All right, that's round 2. 1 more to go. Okay. There's a really weird sound outside the house. I'm not sure if it's a bird, but for some reason it reminds me of a dog whining. So I'm going to go check it out in just a second. I'm sure it's just a really weird sounding bird, but... Let me go check this out. I guess it makes sense. I'm sure it was a bird, but when I went out there, apparently I startled a roadrunner that was chilling in the tree. I didn't know they could fly. Huh. That's weird. My husband said that my tablet was at my mother-in-law's house, but I literally just put my thing right on top of it, so Alright. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, now I get to do the fun part of decreasing. Let me change the brightness over here a little bit to make this a little bit easier. Yeah, that's okay. There we go. Oh no, it's already blended in. Pull that out. Ugh. Fluff everywhere. Come on. There we go. There we go. Got a head finished. So now I got to work on the base. Try and finish 5 turtle bases today. The shells are pretty easy to do. I think I might actually switch it up and do a dark green shell with these guys. Just to keep up some variety of the different turtles that'll be given out. There's some of that fluff. There's so many other fun things I want to do. Guess that's what happens when you make 50 of any one thing. You're just like, let me try a different pattern. I doubt I'll be able to finish 5 bases in an hour, but I got the head done in 10 minutes, so maybe I can finish 2.5 bases. The base takes a little bit of time, though. But I just know that if I didn't sit down and work on these, it would get closer and closer to their date that they leave, and then I'd be rushed and panicked to try and finish them, and it would take all of the enjoyment out of this. All right, so this is about the time where I stop to weave it in, no matter if I'm working on the head or the base. And I'll put a link in the video description of, if I can find it, the where I got this pattern from. I purchased it, I believe, from Etsy. It is a fantastic pattern. I believe the seller has a lot of other no-sew patterns. I say no-sew, and here I am weaving this in. If I was able to do a magic circle with this yarn, then that is what I would be doing. But I would still be needing to weave in something to make sure that my magic ring is, well, so magic ring, magic circle. I use those terms interchangeably. But I would still be doing that to make sure that it's secure. I've seen a lot of comments from people, not on YouTube, but just in general in the crochet community, talking about how they'll never trust a magic ring. And I know that I've talked about this before, but they'll say they will never trust a magic ring again because they did it and it came undone and it ruined their work. And I feel like, and I'm not saying this is for everybody, I'm really, really not. But I have seen it in videos, in tutorials, where they tighten their magic ring and then without weaving it in, they just snip. And I'm like, that's not a good idea, because you just put a lot of tension on this center circle going in only one way, and now you've snipped it. So there's basically no string that's keeping this circle in place, and you put tension on it. So always weave it at least 2 different directions. But yeah. All right. On to continuing on this one. Hopefully I did it right. Let me just double check my count. Yep. Good. Okay. What the fuck? Oh, I'm so sorry. I cussed. I heard something really weird in this room. What are you guys doing? Jeez. Alright, well, I don't think I'll be able to upload this now, or at least I'll have to edit out the excited utterance. But it sounded to me like there was a small dog padding across the room in front of my feet. It had that kind of like sound. I'm thinking it might be the chickens outside, but like I'm super weird about now. There could be some sort of little mammal in this room. So, yeah, this is going to be one of those unlisted videos, I guess. And I lost count. No! Sigh. Oh, well. It already looks kind of goofy, so I don't know. A couple more stitches and I'm going to do a count. Okay. think that'll be it. Quick count again. Yep, there we go. Yay. Okay, time for the feet. I'm going to put a stitch marker in. Alrighty. I'm almost done with this base. Yep. Let's see. All right, let me just check this. Yep. Okay. Now for the fun part. Time to join. I'll go right. Here. This is the no-sew part of the pattern. There we go. And there we go. Leave this in. I'm going to hold off on positioning the eyes until after I get another. I think I'll do 2 more of these bases. It looks like it's around 20 minutes as long as I don't stop and go outside to go check on some sort of weird sound. There we go. I think I put the head on pretty well. So that's another one. Clean up the little fluff into my favorite little trash can that I like to show off at every opportunity. It is, I feel like, one of the best dollar store purchases I've maybe ever made because I use it so much. I say dollar store, the $1.25 store as it is now. Let me put this up. I don't need this right now. All right. You know what? Excuse me. Oh. I think I will test out the darker color for the shell. See how much I like that. The annoying thing, another wonderfully annoying thing about this yarn is how much it just falls apart. The skein, the ball, whatever you want to call it, it just completely disintegrates when any amount of weight is placed on it, which is incredibly frustrating because you end up with this like spaghetti. And now it's all tangled up and I'm trying to like untangle it and it's not pretty. It is not pretty at all. And I don't want to lose this because I have enough yarn here for like the base, another base, but it just takes forever to untangle. And maybe I could have caked it before using it, but I was being stubborn. Now I have to try and find the start. There we go. I think I saw it for a second there. There it is. Okay. So let's go make a shell. Oh, I realized it's really quiet because I didn't play my music. I don't mind it. Mostly because I don't typically listen to lo-fi while I'm crocheting. I'll either be listening to an audiobook or I'll be listening to, there's a channel out there called Audit the Court, which is pretty cool because it'll call out some interesting nuances related to legal matters. Let me just get this before I lose count. Okay. One more. And it's funny, I've been watching so much of it whenever they say Harris County, Texas, or gosh, I want to say it's Michigan, but it might be Minnesota. But I'll know which judge they're about to cover the courtroom for. There's Judge Cedric. Oh gosh, I wouldn't be able to tell you his last name. Probably because he's not Texan. But then out of Harris County, there's Judge David Fleischer. And I absolutely love watching the stuff that comes out of his courtroom. But Audit the Court is pretty good because, it just goes to show that you really do need to have legal representation. You could be 100% innocent of whatever it is you're being charged with. You need that legal representation because they know how to navigate the system. And you will get yourself hemmed up if you try to navigate it by yourself. Heck, you could be guilty and they're able to find loopholes or previously established precedents in other courts for similar situations that, maybe you won't get off scot-free. But they're able to negotiate lower sentences than what you could have been liable for. So, yeah. Anyway, outside of that, I also do listen to music when I'm crocheting, just not lo-fi genre. Definitely not. All right, so let's go on to this one. This one, the reason why I put a stitch counter is so I don't have to count. I just have to do the same repetition all the way through. So I basically can talk without having to worry about keeping count. Because patterns are easy for me. Keeping count requires a little bit of focus. Because I'll say the number and then I'll be like, wait, did I actually say that number? Did I do it? Whereas pattern, I don't even, it's like autopilot. It's like keying it into computer, like, this is the pattern I want to follow. And my brain's like, cool, got you. No problem. And then I always know how it's supposed to end in the marked stitch. So I'll know if I did it right by the time I get around there. And then I will, of course, count them when I'm done to make sure that I have it right. Yeah, sweet. Problem with this yarn is, like, sometimes I can't even tell where the stitches are. All right, so now let me just count this. Got it. All right, on to the next round. There we go. Now this one. Next round, I got 2 rounds left before I get into the join round, which is nice. Light at the end of the tunnel, right? Oh, whoops. I was so happy that I was close to finishing. I was like, yay, I don't need to count anymore. Not that I'm counting, because I had just said about the pattern, but this one, since it's a little bit longer than the normal pattern, I do just keep a small portion of like a running, like in between, like how many stitches I need to do one repeat. I do keep that in my head. And one of the reasons why I'm not counting out loud is because I know how I am when it comes to patterns. And I know that if I were to watch this video, if there was any verbal counting done at all, I would be able to figure out how this was made, and then I wouldn't purchase the pattern. Not that I'm trying to be malicious or unethical. If I ended up selling things from the pattern, then I would absolutely go purchase the pattern. But if I'm making things for my own personal use and I can get a close facsimile without having to purchase the pattern, I'm like, why not? Especially if I just want to attempt it. But I do try and purchase patterns for things, especially if I want it to absolutely match whatever it is that the person has outputted. But if I just want it kind of similar, and I'm only making 1 or 2, I don't bother. That's because there's really not too many unique combinations out there in terms of the composition of it. I saw, as I mentioned in one of my videos, someone was selling a pattern for a super, it was a block stitch. And I guess what they were selling as part of their pattern was how they do color changes without having to constantly weave in ends. Basically alternating between 2 colors in the block stitch. You'll have your your chain and your single crochet row is one row, and then you'll have your double crochet cluster in the next row, or I don't know, like the Granny DC cluster. And I was like, well, that's easy. You just work your yarn up. But you know what? If people want to pay for instructions on how to do, well, one, it's a stitch that you can find everywhere online. I definitely got it for free when I was first working with the block stitch. It's one of my go-to stitches, actually, for making baby blankets. It is super fast, especially if I'm not changing the colors on the single crochet chain row. If I'm leaving the colors the exact same, I can actually do it with my eyes closed because it is so much muscle memory. And you work your double crochets into your chain spaces, typically. And then you work your chain and your single crochet into the natural spaces between the 3DC clusters, because that's how you set up that row. I'll show you actually in a second. But I am working on a slightly different modification of it for that baby blanket, because I realized while I was doing it, the gaps in the DC, I mean, they're not big by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not too worried about the little baby getting its fingers in the holes. But I was like, you know what? Let me make it at least a little bit more, less holy, I guess. I'll finish up this turtle and then I'll show you what I mean. But here we go. This is our little guinea pig. He gets some fluff for his head. I like this. This is a really nice soft polyfill. I got a much harsher polyfill. I want to say this is some polyfill I got from Joann's. May Joann's rest in peace. There we go. I don't want it too firm, but I don't want it too soft. So I kind of have to feel around. I recently bought something. I love it. Please don't get me wrong. I love it. But it is definitely a little too firm for my taste. Let me show you. It's fantastic. I got it from, there's a group that operates out of San Antonio called, it's a Facebook group called Hotties Who Crochet SA, because we're in San Antonio and the surrounding areas. And she was doing a market yesterday, and I happened to see from her market photos a glimpse of this beautiful specimen of a dragon. Absolutely fantastic. I believe that this is Premier Yarn. I've seen this before. I'm not sure what brand it is because I've never worked with it, but I'm pretty sure that this is Premier Yarn. My kids have now asked me if I can make them one. And the construction of the head looks like it would take a little bit of work for me to deconstruct in my head. But after that, the body is worked as one piece, basically. It starts here. I suppose I could start the tail to the body to the head. But let me see here. Actually, that's how she worked it. She started with the tail, worked her way down till she had, it looks like the length of the tail she wanted. And then I've just recently figured out how to make these hands. But so what I was actually thinking about doing one of two things. My kids both wanted me to make them their own color customized version of this. So I was planning on doing an attempt. And if I was successful with my attempt, I was going to reach out to the person I bought this from. I was going to first ask her if there was a pattern for it. If there wasn't a pattern and she freehanded this, I was actually going to pay her $5 each, one that I made. I'm not going to be selling them. I'm not going to be honing in on her thing at all. And honestly, if she wasn't extremely busy right now with commissions, I would commission her and pay her the amount that I paid for this. I commission her to make one each for my kids. But I know she is absolutely swamped right now with, she's making San Antonio Spurs Coyote mascot things. But anyway, pay her for the inspiration. If she used a pattern from someone else, then I would ask her where she got the pattern from so I could then purchase the pattern. And at that point, I would probably make more that I would maybe sell. But yeah, it's really cool. I can kind of see how it was all set up. But the one thing that I was talking about was like, this is stiff. This is a very, very stiff. I mean, it's going to hold its shape. And I personally and typically do not like something that stiff. But I really like this, and I've already have given my kids the riot act about it. About they don't get it's mine. They don't get to take it with them up to their room. But anyway, all right. But yeah, yesterday before I picked up the kids, I stopped over at her market and I picked it up. They're going to have a May meetup, but I don't think I'll attend. It's at a brewery type thing, but it also happens to be the day that my sister and I do our weekend thing. And though, drinking is not a requirement, I wouldn't be able to drink anyway, because if I'm driving somewhere, I will not drink any alcoholic beverage unless I know that from the time I drink the beverage to the time I have to leave is at least 2 hours. And it's for each beverage I have, I add that 2 hours. So unless I have a DD, I'm not going anywhere 2 hours until 2 hours after I have a drink. That's why I typically drink at home because one, the cost of intoxicating beverages is very high when you are consuming outside the home. And two, while sober me and so far inebriated me has been really, really good about not driving. When you drink, your inhibitions are impaired. So, sober me and past not sober me have always been really good, but I don't want to ever be in the position where not sober me decides, it's okay, I'm fine, I'm just going down the road, I'll be okay. No. In fact, statistically, most all traffic fatalities, or statistically, not most all, but a majority, we'll say a majority, right, of traffic fatalities occur within a mile from the home. And that's because people get complacent, or, even if they're like, I don't live that far away, I'll be fine. They get behind the wheel and something happens. And heck, my car last year took out a deer. And I was probably about 4 to 5 miles from home. I'd forgotten it was it was deer mating season. It was dark out. It was probably around 9:15 at night. And my car was a very quiet car. And I didn't have one of those little whistle things for deer that keeps the deer away or lets them know that a car's coming by. So it just sprinted right out in the middle of the road as I was approaching. And the speed limit on this stretch of road is 70 miles per hour. I actually typically take it slower at night because of all the deer. But I was tired. I wanted to get home. I had a busy day. I had to pick the kids up. It was just a crazy set of circumstances that led me to get complacent. And, well, I say it led me to get complacent, but the deer was behind a tree. And, my car, it was a Tesla, definitely tried its best to stop. And thank goodness, I know this sounds weird, but thank goodness it didn't swerve, because I talked to the insurance guy the next day and he was like, if you had swerved and you had hit a ditch and that's why your car was totaled, you would be at fault and we wouldn't pay anything out. He's like, so I know this sounds counterintuitive, but the fact that you didn't swerve, or that your car didn't have you swerve, allowed for this to get covered. So I was like, okay, learn something new every day. My husband likes to joke about how I have more deer kills than him. And I also have more totaled cars than him. So I'm at 1-1 right now, and he's at 0 for both. And I guess on the plus side, it turns out that deer was an invasive species to Texas. So, I mean, my car was doing its service. And the crazy thing about it is, though the car was totaled, the only one of us who had an injury, the kids, of course, they were in their booster seats appropriately. They were buckled appropriately. They were fine. They were definitely really rattled because they both fallen asleep in the car on the way home. It was almost an hour past their bedtime. But I got a bruised toe because there are airbags down by the pedals. And, of course, the little pedal airbag deployed and pushed up my foot. And I had a little bruise. And that was it. That was the only injury we had. And that car was totaled. Or rather, the cost that it would have taken to fix it would have been more than its value. So they totaled it. It got on a boat. It went over to, I believe it was South America. And it was fixed up. And then there was a new owner to it. We know all this because I had never disconnected my car from my Tesla app. And so I'd periodically get updates like, your battery's low, your door's open. And then it was like, a new key card has been established. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I actually got to see the location of it. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to have to disconnect it at some point. But I don't know, it's kind of neat. And then I got an email notification saying, hey, thank you for subscribing to Full Self-Driving monthly. And thank you for doing your connectivity package. I was like, whoops. Because I still had my payment information connected to the card. And I'm sure the new owners did not know this. It's not their fault. So I went ahead and canceled it. Tesla's pretty good about it in terms of when you sign up, even if you, for all intents and purposes, you want to sign up and go immediately without a, without a trial period, they still sign you up for the trial period. They're like, hey, try it for 7 days. If you still like it, then we'll start charging you. Otherwise, don't worry about it. And I caught it the day that I got re-registered for it. So I was like, cool. So I was able to cancel it. Didn't have any charges, which was nice. And thankfully, because of that, I was able to find out that my wonderful son had accidentally, I'll give him accidentally. I don't think he really realized what he was doing, but he had made some purchases on the Google Play Store on my tablet earlier that day, totaling $126. Now, Google Play is pretty smart. They set it up so that there's a very easy whoopsie process. And so I wrote up a little blurb about why I was requesting a refund. I changed the purchase authorization permissions in my tablet. And then I got within minutes, I got a refund for all the charges. And it looked like he might have accidentally not realized that it was charging him every single time. But anyway, so I got a full refund, and it's a learning experience for the both of us. I had a chat with him about it, and I'm like, I can't be 100% mad at him. Well, one, couldn't really be mad at him at all because I did get a complete refund. And then the other is, that's on me. I have talked to him in the past about if he's going to use my tablet, if anything pops up with the $sign, because of course he knows what a $sign is, but if anything pops up with a $sign, he's not to purchase it. He needs to talk to me first. And he's been doing really, really good about it. And whether he realized what he was doing or not, it's on me to monitor what he's doing. And I should have already had that payment system, should have already had the payment disabled or more heavily protected than I had it, with more confirmations, like a confirmation every time. So it's not just him, it was me too. And I think that's really important that parents need to remember, is that, you know, they're learning, you're learning, and not everything is going to be 100% your kid's fault if they do something bad. You know, you got to give them some grace, and you explain to them why it was wrong in the first place. And that's their, you know, their first chance. That doesn't look right. I think that's fine. A little bit more stuffing. Yeah, you know, I'm going to go for 2 of these now, and then I'll do a quick count. Then I'll show off that baby blanket, and then we'll call it a day. And I'll see if I can get that one part of this video removed. All right. Here we go. It's got nice little, you can't tell, but he's got purple eyes. There we go. Little purple eyes. I like the way that this shell looks. So I'm going to give it another one of these. And that should wrap up around about an hour. And it's time to get up the kids, make their breakfast. We're doing pigs in a blanket. So I'm a little annoyed. Our local HEB I already complained to my husband and my mother-in-law about it. The local HEB did like a remodel, and they removed a lot of my favorite things from there, which really annoyed me. And I had to go to the Walmart instead. But yeah, the little Smokies, I couldn't find them at the Walmart anymore. All right, there we go. Okay, so here's where I'm going to pause and just weave this in. There's that fluff that just comes right off. That was cool. So yesterday we had, my husband hadn't seen I think it was his high school friend for like 3 decades now. And so he invited him over, and his sister came, and his dad came, and his niece and nephew came, and, you know, his wife was there too. So they came over, we had a little cookout, and the little girl, I asked her if she wanted me to make her a turtle. She's like, yeah. So I asked her what colors, and unfortunately she had really, really wanted a pink shell. The problem is the only pink I have is a much thicker pink yarn. And I was like, oh, I'm really sorry, but it's not the right size, so I don't think it's gonna work. She's like, that's okay. It's like, okay, so what colors do you want? She's like, pink. And I was like, you know what? She's a kid, so she's not going to understand. Well, okay, I say she's a kid. There's plenty of kids out there that crochet, and that would understand, you know, this concept because they crochet. But this girl doesn't crochet. She sees yarn as yarn, right? So if yarn is yarn, then why can't I use pink? So what I ended up doing is I got her to pick out all the colors. So pink, and I can show you what the pink looks like in a second, so you'll see just how much bigger this yarn is. And then what I did is I took this yarn, and I like this type of yarn, and then I double stranded it. And it worked a treat. I was so happy. And I was able to get it started and finished before they left. It took me about 30 minutes. But yeah, I just smoked through it because I knew that they'd be leaving soon. They had already had lunch. They were doing the tour of the house and the property at that point, and I knew that they were going to be wrapping up soon, so really pushed through it. It's like, enter hyper focus mode, go. All right, so there's that. I got 3 more rounds left to go before we can join it. I'll try and get it finished before the 60-minute mark. Oh, completely unrelated to crochet. But Kiwi finally ate dinner last night. She's been in her little shed slump lately, and I've been waiting to handle her until she'd eaten, so she didn't think my hand was food. So she finally ate last night. So that means in a couple days, probably Wednesday, I'm gonna handle her again. All right. Okay, there we go. 2 more rounds left till the final joining round. Okay, there we go. Work 2 in here. Now I do the regular round, no counting needed. Oh, 1 second, let me get me a sip. So I can't have pineapple because of the, I'm pretty sure it's because of the pulp. But what I can have, because there's no pineapple actually in it, is this. And when I was a kid, that was one of my favorite drinks. There is this store called Omni. And it was up in the northern Midwest. I know that they had some stores, obviously, in Illinois. But they were like the cheaper version of another chain store called Dominic's. And Dominic's is of the Albertsons family of stores. So like the store brand inside of Dominic's was Albertsons. But Omni was like this cheaper, this huge, massive store that just had, it was cheaper than Dominic's. And Omni just had these, I don't know, they had the same soda, the same diet pineapple soda, but my, growing up, my absolute favorite soda was Sprite, or rather lemon lime sodas. If you gave me a blind taste test of like Sierra Mist, Twist, Sprite, 7-Up, and I think there was like one other store brand from Jewel Osco, maybe, I can't remember, but I could tell you which was which, because it's been a very long time since I've had any of that type of sugared soda. So I wouldn't be able to tell you now, but it's like one was a little bit more lemony than the other. One was a little bit more of the lime flavor. Sierra Mist I always felt was the superior lemon lime soda because it just had the perfect balance of like refreshing, and not that I'm trying to be like a an advert for them because I have no idea what it tastes like now. I haven't had it in a very long time. I don't know if they've done what everybody else has done and change up their recipe. Like changing up recipes. Let's talk about some of them, right? Butterfinger. Can't have Butterfinger anymore. It immediately gets stuck in my teeth. It used to be so flaky and would like melt in your mouth. Now it's like it becomes cement for your teeth. So I feel like something there had to have changed. Reese's. The Reese's peanut butter cups, the regular peanut butter cups, it's like the chocolate is like malleable. It's really flexible and it's not that good. And then there's just this weird taste to the peanut butter inside the peanut butter cup. Like the texture is just a little wrong and the taste, it's almost like something coats my tongue when I try eating those. But oddly enough, their big cups are very reminiscent of how I remember their small cups tasting and the texture. And then the chocolate on the big cups actually snaps as opposed to being flexible like the smaller cups. I don't really know how to explain it. Maybe they don't temper the chocolate the same way between the two cups. Another one that's a big bummer for me is Hershey's cookies and cream bars. In fact, Hershey's bars in general, they used to be really nice, crisp, like you could break it. There'd just be like a snap to the chocolate. It's gone to be kind of flexible. So I'm sure they're doing a change in ingredients a while back to try and stave off having to increase their prices. So they went ahead and instead of increasing their prices at first, they just maybe went to a different, maybe not, definitely not substandard, but maybe just a different type of ingredient, which maybe interacts with the other ingredients a little bit differently in terms of taste and texture. Because that for me is a big thing. Not so much the taste, but the texture. They change the texture on something, it makes me sad. I don't want it anymore. One thing, paydays are pretty close to how they've been, but there's just something a little off with them. The Tractor Supply sells these things that are called peanut butter logs. They are amazing. They're like what Payday wants to be. So I haven't gone to Tractor Supply in a long while because every time I do, I want to get one of those. And they're a lot of calories. They're fantastic though. All right, here we go. Stuffing time. Yeah, it seems like there's been a lot of changes to ingredients lately and a lot of discontinuance of things that I really liked. So Fiber One, right? They make, Fiber One granola bars and they actually ventured into the toaster pastry. They're a version of a Pop-Tart, basically. No one can top the Pop-Tarts. I recently had some Pop-Tarts and they're still as good as I remember from when I was a kid. So I think they still got it. But Fiber One had gone into like the pastry thing. Well, they also got into the yogurt one and they made this fantastic vanilla yogurt that I absolutely adored back when I was stationed in Hawaii. The commissary stocked it. And so that was part of my morning routine. I'd have a Fiber One because it had low calorie. It had, fiber to keep you full, more like it was more filling. And then there was protein. So it was like a perfect breakfast thing. And I don't like eating breakfast, but when you're in the military, you've got to be active early in the morning doing your physical training, right? Your PT. So, it was something to help give me that needed energy boost, the fuel for my body. Well, after a few months, they stopped stocking it. So I was like, okay, well, hopefully it's not discontinued. Nah, it was discontinued. Another thing that I loved when I was in Hawaii that they also ended up discontinuing a little bit after I got into this. Actually, no, I think before I left the state, the Hawaii, and I went back to the continental United States. But there was a Hot Pocket called Healthy Choice, I believe it was. And it was by the same people who do Hot Pockets, but it was like lean pockets. That was it. It was lean pockets. And they had a 3-cheese broccoli Hot Pocket. That was fantastic. I loved it. So I'd go and I'd buy them, and that was part of what I'd have for dinner basically every single night. Well, one day I went and I bought the box without looking at the box, and I took it out of the package when I got home, and I go put it in the microwave, and I took a bite into it, and it was one of the worst, god-awful, unexpected texture surprises I've had in my life. They started putting bits of chicken in it, like slices of chicken. No, buddy, no. Absolutely disgusting. Turned me right off of it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll go back to the store and I'll get the actual ones that I want. No, they'd completely done away with it. And so they could add more protein. They started having 3-cheese broccoli and chicken, or whatever it was called. And I was so sad because, I had something that I really liked. And that went away. Wish they'd bring it back. But I get it. There probably wasn't enough demand for, that particular type of Hot Pocket. There we go. All right, so let's go see how many of these turtles I have left I need to make. Probably have maybe 2 shells worth in here. I probably have between 2 to 3 bases left here. But I dropped off 28 of these guys back at the beginning of April, I believe it was. And I told them that I'd be making 50. So I have, the rest to go. So we've got, so it was 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, sorry, 36, 37, and 38. So I've got 12 more left to go. Yay. All right, so let me pick these guys up. That's good. 12. 12, 12, 12. Easy peasy enough, I think. And then before I call this vlog quits, I will share that one baby blanket that I was working on. Here's some of the remnants of that yarn, puppy yarn. All right, baby blanket. Bear with me real quick. Okay. So here's my take on the block stitch. I did the spike stitch here. So what that means is I did a double crochet, then I did a double crochet into the middle double crochet 2 rows below, and then another double crochet in the chain space. And then I've just been working up my white color changes up this way, and same thing with the blue. I've been working that up as well. And this looks a little janky, but what's going to happen is when I finish it, okay, I didn't know that they worked one of those in there. That's fine. When I finish this, I'm going to be doing a border. I actually got the measurements wrong on this blanket. It's more like a receiving blanket size right now. Like 26 inches, I think. I think. I have plenty of tape measures to check. But when I was working on the base chain was 30 inches, and I was like, sweet, I'm fine. I was not fine. Okay. So I'm at about 24 inches, a little over 24 inches. So I need to come up with, 6 more inches. That's not going to happen, but I should be able to add at least 2.5 inches on either side for the border. So I should be fine. But yeah, I started this, last week, Wednesday. I started this, and this is where I'm at so far. It needs to be a total length of I think if I'm going to do a 2.5-inch border all the way around, then that'll be less than 5 inches that I need. So I need to make this at least 32 inches in length. So I'm at 12 inches. So, if I could maybe get another foot done today, I think I'll be in a great position. I have the week off. I do have a lot of things that is not just, I get to crochet all week. Gosh, I wish. No, I really don't, because then I'd feel guilty when I go back to work next week about like, I had all this stuff I could have done to make my life easier in the future, but I didn't do it. Like, I've got to set up the upstairs office for the next school year. I got to do my son's lesson planning for the next school year. I already finished my daughter, so. But yeah, I'm quite happy with this. Oh, and one other thing I just finished this morning. It was that slippers I was talking about. They turned out really well. I was trying different patterns. I was not succeeding. Ta-da! These are adorable. I actually made one in a different yarn type to make sure that it fit, because both the lady, the recipient of this, and me, we have the same foot size. And yeah, it may not look like much, but this will actually fit a 9.5 woman's. I have relatively wide feet. And it's really comfortable. At least the one I made for me. This is cotton yarn, and I got both of these made from one ball of the I Love This Yarn cotton by that Hobby Lobby makes. And I have leftovers. I have leftovers to make at least one more. If I need to weigh them, this feels a little bit heavier than this, but not by much. I did use a small part of a leftover ball to do part of this, but it went pretty far. But yeah, so what's cool about this is if I wanted to sell these, I would definitely, it's 100% cotton. I think I could easily sell them for $10, possibly $15. And the ball, the time it takes for me to make one of these is about 45 minutes. So I'm looking at an hour and a half for a pair. And then this, if I buy it on sale, is going to run me $3 and I think $3.50 or something like that. I'd have to go double check. But I'd at least get paid around $5 for my time, in addition to the materials. Like $5 each hour. Well, no, 7. If it was 7.5 hours, so like minimum wage. I could actually probably make minimum wage off of these, which is really, it's actually significantly impressive if I were able to sell this for $15. Because then, it would be about minimum wage, and it's really, really hard to get minimum wage as a crochet artist, unless you're making special commissions. You're not. I was sharing pictures of the San Antonio Fiesta themed cardigan that I made, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, is this your job after you're done with your work? Like, is this your new job?" And I'm like, I was like, you can't make a living off this unless you've got a label like Gucci or Prada or Louis Vuitton or whatever. They're the ones that, one, they're probably not paying the person making it the best of wages. But they are selling whatever it is for just an insane amount of money. Now, I will say that one of the ones that I saw recently was definitely hand crocheted, and they were selling it at a reasonable price for their label. And then they also were definitely selling it for a reasonable price if the crochet artist was being compensated for their time. So I thought that was really good. And I really wish that there was more of that out there. The only other thing that I could do to maybe make it worth my time if I was trying to get into the crochet business for myself, I would have to do commission only. And I will tell you that people who do commissions, like people who commission you to make a particular something, they're willing to pay. Like they decided that they really want this item. They want it done in the way they want it done, and they are willing to pay for that custom work. And those are the best type of customers you're going to have as anyone, basically. If you work with stained glass, if you work making jewelry, if you work knitting, crocheting, doing embroidery, felting, you have someone who is going out there, they've done their research, they like your work, they're willing to pay you, they're willing to commission you, right? I feel like 9 times out of 10, they understand the value of your work and they're willing to compensate you appropriately for it. Now, there are definitely people out there who, especially those that like to commission, digital artists. Digital artists, I feel, definitely do not charge what they should for their time. But if they're able to make money off of it, and it's worth their while. Same with crocheting, right? But yeah, so that's about it. I gotta go. I gotta stop. As much as I want to work on this, I gotta stop so I can make the kids their breakfast. But I guess I'll show just this little bit of how I work my color up. So, pinch that. I'll pull out a pretty long loop so I can come back to this and not have to really worry about losing any stitches. But if you really want to make sure, just secure it with a locking stitch marker. I've put the loop of the blue on this side and I put the beading string on the other side. And I'll just pull this up. And then I just chain 3. Then in this middle stitch, this is where I was saying I will go into the stitch below and then I'll just work a double crochet right there. Now, typically with the way I work the block stitch, you don't do any chains in between, but because of how I'm doing this and because I have this kind of locked down, I will do 1 chain and then work. Typically I don't, but for this, just as I was coming up with how I wanted this to look, I was messing around with how I typically do things, and that's how I ended up with what I got going here. So, but yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that I have to actually check that my stitches, that stitch is going into the middle, I wouldn't even have to look. Now I can kind of feel out where it goes, so sometimes I don't need to look, but I don't want to have to go back because I spent so much time not looking that I put it in really weird spots or I missed it or whatever. So I do try to look at this. Unless I know absolutely sure. It was one of the things my daughter asked me yesterday. She was doing my makeup. And she was like, can you crochet without looking? Because she noticed one of my eyes was closed. Whoops. Let me undo this one. One of my eyes was closed because, she was putting on eyeshadow. And I was like, well, honey, it wasn't this. It was the slipper. I was like, sometimes I need to look. Sometimes I don't. But I have an eye open right now. And she's like, oh. She was like, could you crochet with both your eyes closed? And I was like, well, I'll try. So she watches my face. I close my eyes. And I'm able to feel where I had put my previous stitch in. And I felt the top spot to put in the next stitch. And I was able to do it. And she's like, oh, you're pretty good at that. And I was like, well, thank you, honey. That's one thing both my kids wanted to learn over the summer. So I'm hoping when I have a little bit more downtime. This week we already have stuff planned. They want to do, each of them are getting their special day with me. We only do it maybe 3 times a year, where one of them goes with me and we do basically whatever they want for that day, and they don't have to worry about compromising with their sibling. And then the very next day, the other one gets to go. So I think it's set up this time where Stephanie is going to go first, have the first day, and then Nathan, because last time I think it was Nathan and Stephanie. But yeah. All right, I'm going to call it quits. And y'all have a lovely day. I apologize for it being so quiet. But yeah. And also, if I can't figure out how to censor it out, it happens. It really freaked, that thing really freaked me out because it sounded like there was something bigger than a mouse, bigger than a rat, padding across the floor right in front of my feet. And I'm like, if it was mice, I'm like, okay, I'm used to that sound. I didn't hear a little type scrabble, but this was like a dog padding across the room. So I'm sure it was just the chickens outside doing something, But that startled me. All right. Adios.